try to make this brief. I know you're looking forward to hearing the other speaker, but I'd like to share some things with you that, as a precinct chairman in Tulsa, how things have grown and things that have come about through Oklahoma. Imagine that if you watch much of Fox News or any others, you hear a lot about our senators. Oklahoma has some very outspoken senators, and they're not very shy about it at all. I would like to share with you about how we open our meetings. And in opening of our meetings, sometimes we'll have 10, sometimes we'll have a packed room with standing room only. It just varies. They never know very much always to who's guest, but sometimes it's just to the point of who is able to be there or who isn't, or whether they remember or not. We do hold it in a cafe. I live in a small community, but the community which I live in is a very vital part of Oklahoma because it's the northern part of Tulsa County. It's very difficult to reach, and it's a very Democrat part because it's considered the majority. There's several other areas. Tulsa County is huge, and we have probably 400,000 in Tulsa. That being in the city, not including all the outskirts of the small towns, which is considered suburbs of Tulsa now. But where I live is called Turley, Oklahoma. So when you look for it on Facebook, you want to go to Turley Republican Assembly, and there you'll find it. In that, when we open up, I try to remind each member who they are, what they represent in the community, and I try to remind them to understand and educate others the difference. And that's a part of why so many people are not voting, is because they're not educated, they're more opinionated, and all they've heard is opinions. And if we can educate the people just a little bit and encourage it. I generally keep a stack of voting cards, and I encourage everyone that leaves there, take 2 cards when you leave. And if each one can reach one and teach one to reach one, bring back 2 cards, then the president will take them and turn them in for the Republican Party. I also tell them that when you take those voters cards and you share them with friends, and I know the majority of you have friends, you have church friends, and you have neighbors and things, people all about you that you go through passing, and ask them, are you a registered voter? And oftentimes they want to vote, but they don't know how to go about voting. Again, they're uneducated to this. And so with that, I encourage them to educate them to vote. And I asked them, so do you believe in voting Republican, or do you believe in voting Democrat? And of course there's the independent, but in Oklahoma we don't have independent. Anyone votes independent doesn't get to vote until last. They don't get a primaries or anything because you're either Republican or Democrat. The majority of the counties in Oklahoma are Democrat. But I will tell you, this year, I don't know, any of you in here heard of Dr. Tom Coburn? If you watched the Senate meeting, and it was on Newsweek, Time, everybody, CNN, CBS, everybody had this on there. For the first time in 40 years, a senator stood up and said, I want that bill read out loud. And when they do that, they have to bring a clerk into the Senate meeting, and the bill must be read out loud. And at this time, Obama had the bill up to 1,200 pages. And they were furious. The Democrats were furious, Obama was furious, and he said, you're just stalling time. He said, excuse me, I am not stalling time. I know most bills do not get read. They're only discussed and measured and traded. I want every person in this room to understand every word in that bill. I want it read out loud. first senator in 40 years to take that stand and request that. That was Dr. Tom Coburn. Dr. Tom Coburn was a pediatrician who had delivered more than 300 babies in a small town, and they had a Democrat senator who had a thumb on most everybody that he had made deals with where he owned that area. Everyone was afraid to run against him, and he was basically like Ted Kennedy. He had the power, and they knew no one would win if they ran against him. And so Dr. Tom Coburn said, I feel led to the call to step up. And he won with an overwhelming 70+% in that precinct and just knocked the man out of his seat. And since then, Dr. Coburn said, I'm not a politician. I don't know anything about politics, but I am Christian, and I know about truth, and I know about people in needs, and I want to go up there and see to it that the needs are being met. And so in this, on election day, I'm going to pass this around for y'all to see. There was a poster made that went out November 2nd. And it's Dr. Tom Coburn who stood in the Senate office, and he won again with 70+% in his precinct. He ran again for election this year, and it shows Obama in the background like, oh. And a dear friend of mine, I'm so proud to speak, U.S. Senator James Inhofe. He is the most hated senator by President Obama because he has voted no on bailouts, no on stimulus, no on everything. He's never voted yes. But anyway, I'll leave this to pass it out for y'all to look at, because what I want you to see, this was a poster that was made showing that this year, through little precinct meetings just as this, that stood strong, got on the internet, got on Twitter, got on everything they knew how, got their children on it, everybody was doing everything, and Oklahoma is total Republican. Almost every district that has a state representative, I think maybe we have just 3 or 4 that are Democrat that held their seats. Every one of them switched to Republican. We have a Republican governor, we have Republican senators, U.S. senators, and even on down to lieutenant governor, attorney general, commissioner of insurance, commissioner of labor, you name it, every one of them's Republican all the way across the board. Our state legislature is Republican. We had a Democrat governor who vetoed almost everything we sent through, whether it was on pro-life, and they kept going back through again. And so now we have it finally through, and they said we'd take it to the people or whatever, but we have what's called they have to view the baby.
Ultrasound bill.
Ultrasound bill. That they're required, they must do that, and they must hear the heartbeat of a baby before they can abort it. And then I want to go ahead and share another thing with you that I've stressed them to our members every month until they completely understand it, because I want them to be educated, and I want them to educate others.